The worst Christmas date of my life began with a spilled cup of coffee and ended with a little girl asking me the one question that changed everything. Can you be my new mom? Even now, years later, those words still echo in my heart. But that night, standing in the middle of a crowded holiday market with freezing wind stinging my cheeks and embarrassment burning through me, I had no idea my life was about to take a turn I never could have imagined. I thought I was simply surviving another terrible date. I thought I was going home alone. I thought I knew exactly how the evening would end. I was wrong. 3 weeks before Christmas, my sister convinced me to try online dating again. You've spent 2 years hiding after your breakup, she said. One bad relationship doesn't mean all good people are gone. Easy for her to say. She had a husband who still brought her flowers every Friday. Meanwhile, I was 34, single, and convinced that love had permanently crossed my name off its list. Still, after enough encouragement, and maybe a little loneliness, I agreed to meet a man named Daniel. His profile seemed promising. He volunteered at animal shelters. He loved books. He said family was the most important thing in his life. For the first few days, our conversations were easy and natural. By the time he suggested meeting at the city's annual Christmas festival, I actually felt hopeful. That should have been my first warning sign. Because whenever I felt hopeful about dating, life seemed determined to humble me. The disaster started almost immediately. I arrived 10 minutes early and waited near a giant Christmas tree decorated with thousands of sparkling lights. Families laughed around me. Children ran through the snow. Holiday music drifted through the air. It looked like the beginning of a Hallmark movie. Then Daniel arrived. Late. 25 minutes late. Without an apology. Instead, he glanced at his phone and said, "Traffic was terrible." That was it. No sorry. No explanation. Nothing. I ignored the irritation and tried to stay positive. Maybe he was nervous. Maybe the evening would improve. It didn't. Within 15 minutes. He had spent most of the conversation talking about himself. His job. His car. His investment portfolio. His gym routine. I learned more about his favorite protein powder than I did about his personality. Every time I tried contributing to the conversation, he somehow redirected it back to himself. Then came the coffee incident. We stopped at a holiday cafe. As I reached for my drink, someone bumped into me from behind. The entire cup splashed across my coat. Daniel sighed dramatically. Actually sighed. "You should be more careful," he said. I stared at him. My coat was soaked. My hands were freezing. And somehow this was my fault. For a second I thought he was joking. He wasn't. Something inside me finally snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just quietly. The way disappointment often does. I suddenly realized. I didn't want to spend another minute pretending this date was salvageable. "Daniel," I said, forcing a polite smile. "I think we're looking for different things." He shrugged. "Probably." Then he walked away. Just like that. No argument. No goodbye. No effort. Nothing. I stood there alone among thousands of twinkling lights. Around me, couples held hands. Families took photos. Everyone seemed to belong somewhere. Everyone except me. I felt ridiculous. 34 years old and abandoned at a Christmas festival. Part of me wanted to cry. Another part wanted to laugh at how absurd the whole evening had become. Instead, I bought a hot chocolate and found an empty bench. I told myself I'd stay for 10 more minutes before going home. That's when I noticed her. A little girl sitting alone near the edge of the skating rink. She couldn't have been older than 6. She wore a bright red coat and a knitted hat with tiny white snowflakes. At first I assumed her parents were nearby. Then I noticed something strange. She was crying. Not throwing a tantrum. Not pouting. Actually crying. The kind of frightened tears children try desperately to hide. I looked around. Nobody seemed to be paying attention. The crowd flowed around her like water around a stone. For a moment I hesitated. Then I walked over. "Hey there," I said gently. "Are you okay?" She looked up with tear-filled eyes. "I can't find my daddy." My stomach dropped. "What's your name?" "Emma." "Okay, Emma. Don't worry. We'll find him." The confidence in my voice surprised even me. Inside, I was panicking. I knelt beside her. "Do you know his phone number?" She shook her head. "Do you know where you got separated?" Another shake. Poor kid was terrified. I took a slow breath. "It's okay. Let's go talk to security." She immediately grabbed my hand. As if letting go might make her disappear completely. Together we walked toward the information booth. Security began making announcements while I stayed with Emma. Minutes passed. Then 20. Then 30. No father appeared. The longer we waited, the more worried I became. Emma leaned against me while we sat near the booth. "Daddy always comes back," she whispered. "I know he will." I hoped I sounded more certain than I felt. An hour later, a commotion erupted near the entrance. A man came running through the crowd. His face was pale. His eyes were frantic. "Emma." The little girl jumped to her feet. "Daddy." She sprinted toward him. The man dropped to his knees and wrapped her in his arms. The relief on his face was almost painful to witness. For several seconds neither of them let go. Then his eyes found me. "I don't know how to thank you," he said. His voice cracked. I looked away for 1 second. 1 second. "You found her," I replied softly. "That's what matters." He stood and extended his hand. "I'm Michael." I shook it. "Claire. Security told me you stayed with her the entire time." She was scared. Michael looked down at his daughter. Then back at me. "Most people would have walked by." I shrugged. "Most people wouldn't." His expression suggested he wasn't entirely convinced. As we talked, I learned that Michael had lost his wife 2 years earlier to cancer. Since then, he had been raising Emma alone. Something in his eyes changed when he mentioned her. A sadness that never completely left. I recognized it. Not because I'd lost a spouse, but because I knew what it felt like to carry grief everywhere you went. Eventually they prepared to leave. Emma hugged me unexpectedly. "Thank you for staying." My heart squeezed. "You're welcome, sweetheart." Then she looked at her father. "Can Claire come with us for hot chocolate?" Michael laughed for the first time all evening. "I don't think that's how invitations work." I smiled. "It's okay." But Michael hesitated. "Actually." He looked slightly embarrassed. "Would you like to join us?" Normally I would have declined. The night had already been emotionally exhausting. Yet something made me say yes. Maybe it was Emma's hopeful smile. Maybe it was Michael's kindness. Or maybe I simply wasn't ready to go home.